You try and figure that out. I'm going to let everybody know what's happening. Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. Today we're talking about side hustles. It is a passionate topic for me, and one that increasingly I am going to be talking more about over the month of February we're going to be just kind of celebrating small business, online business, a lot of that as we enter February. Are you frustrated, April? You look very frustrated. I don't know. It's interesting how as soon as we log in, maybe you should log out and log back in. Now I'm thinking about it because you were fine online with me when we were starting. There it is. Now you got full screen, Steve. You can see our new t-shirts. By the way, if you haven't yet checked them out, they're on the YouTube channel. Experience is not something you can Google. This is our baby boomer. It's our We Are the Gray Wave thing. Do you guys like them? Do you like the t-shirts? I like them. I'm very happy with it. So who do we have here? We got Danielle. Hello. We got Joe. Who is it? Joe from Budapest? Did I say? Yes. Hi, Joe from Budapest and Joe P from Ottawa. We've got Gavin from North Wales, UK. I'm going to be visiting. I don't know if I'm close to North Wales. I'm coming to Atomicon in April, and we're going to be going to hanging out in Edinburgh for a couple of days with a couple of our friends from Ireland, and then it's in Newcastle. I'm going to be speaking at it. So that is something which is absolutely exciting. People love the t-shirt. That's good stuff. It's available for sale. You can grab it off the YouTube channel.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you
Bizarre.
now.
It was like once.
That is really weird. Oh, Mike, your first webinar Wednesday? Well, welcome. We'll be filling you in on everything momentarily on what's happening here. We have a big turnout today. Yeah, we've already got 239 people in attendance.
Nice.
So for those of you who are new, for those of you who are old, this is what we're doing. On Webinar Wednesday each week, we typically speaking, I pre-record a bit of a demo, training and a tutorial on some topic. This week, we're going to be talking about the concept of the side hustle. I pre-recorded the demo on that last night. It's about a 20-minute overview, which we will be playing in momentarily. And while the video is playing, the reason that I record a video for those that you are new, it's so that we can really increase the information density of these webinars. We can make sure that the presentation part is great. But while that's happening, April and I will be in the chat answering all of your questions and answering the low-hanging fruit questions. We come back, do a Q&A at the end, and that's pretty much Webinar Wednesday for you. We deliver this free each and every week. And we are brought to you, I'm going to welcome right now, special welcome by the generosity of many of you who are our patrons at Patreon. Dottotech is a community-funded channel, and we are supported through the generosity of our friends through Patreon. And look at that, I just popped up the graphic. I wonder if it will pop there. Yeah, if you click down on the bottom of your screen, you can see our little pop-up there. You actually have to click yourself on it. That's interesting. You see that? I did that. I worked hard on that graphic for you, and you can actually close it down yourself. That's cool. At any rate, Patreon is a crowdfunding site, and through the generosity of you folks, our patrons, which we love, we are able to every week bring you one of these new tutorial webinars, which very seldom have anything salesy attached to them. Occasionally we do, but mostly we don't. Now, there are perks if you happen to sign up for our Patreon support, including half price on many of our online courses. But the biggest perk is we take each week's Webinar Wednesday and we archive it for the use of our patrons. So this is Webinar Wednesday number 116. So we have 116 of these tutorial webinars available in the archives for our patrons, and they go back and they watch and they learn and they find great value in that. We're just remembering. So I was just talking with April before this webinar started. We were speaking about the fact we're over 1,000 people registered again, which seems to be the number we hit each and every week. And April was saying we've come a long way since our first webinars. Now, almost 2.5 years ago, 3 years. Well, January of 2018 was the first ones? Or was it 2017? Oh, you've cut out again. We've lost your audio again. Oh, April, your audio is gone again. There's something wrong with your machine. Something wrong with that headset of yours. Try plugging it out and plugging it back in. And anyway, I think it was, so in our very first webinar Wednesday, we had some 700 people register, but then we kind of dropped down in the 500 range for the most part. But now we're typically over 1,000 people, which is just awesome. Now, you're gonna have to try and figure that headset out. I have no idea what is going on with you. There is some gremlins attacking April. Okay, so I welcomed our patrons. So today's topic we are going to be talking about is, of course, the whole idea of the side hustle. But so much of what happens with the term side hustle and these building a secondary and a tertiary income, I believe, is related to what generation we're from. I believe a lot of people of my generation, baby boomers, it's really a kind of a new thing to us to consider the side hustle. So I have a qualifying question which I want to ask everybody today. And I want to know, what generation are you in? So there's it should pop up here in your sidebar there. You should be able to see the poll. Can you see it? Let's share it. Why is it not coming up? Share now. There it is. Okay. Oh, I see what's happened. I can hear you now. I chose the wrong poll here. I'm still getting used to this.
I see people answering in the chat, so.
Well, we're gonna. I've got better than chat. There we go. There it is. There. Now you've got
we
the
see.
poll question.
Got it.
Which generation are you in? And hey, oh, that works well. And I actually have a rapidly.
I love it.
Oh, it switches over so everybody can see the results coming in.
Cool.
There it is. Look at that. All the boomers out there. All the baby boomers out there. I always suspected that we had a heavily mature audience, and now the proof is coming in. Look at that.
What year were you born?
What year was I born?
Yeah.
1958. I'm at the tail end of the baby boom. I was born in 58. That's right. Do you know what the generation before the baby boomers was called?
Yeah, Generation X. Oh, no.
No, that's after.
Oh, no, I don't.
It's called either the Lost Generation or the Greatest Generation. I think the Lost Generation was the one immediately after, because they were the ones that suffered so much from the Second World War and the Korean War.
Okay.
And then the one before that was called the Greatest Generation. And they were the ones that were, I think, born during the, I might be slightly mistaken, but they were the ones that were born during the Great Depression. So my father's generation.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. All right, so look at that. So we have so many good answers. Thank you very much. So millennials, what the heck are you doing here? I got to ask you. No, you're welcome. We love you. We love you. They probably are kids.
Yeah, but no. I mean, so millennials, really. So I'm born in 73, and they classify millennials or Gen Y at 77. So
yeah, so you're Gen X. You're the leading edge of. You're an old Gen X. You're an old crockety Gen Xer.
That I am.
Well, that is fantastic. Good news. Okay, well, I'm so happy to see all of that. That is great information. So if you want, that poll actually stays up. If you want to get back into chat, you actually have to navigate yourself back into chat here in the oh, that's interesting. My refresh my browser here.
I would say that we're well-aged, life experienced, right?
We are indeed. And I'm just noticing a problem that occasionally I think others will experience is I have the video feed stopped feeding through here. So just things to check out. If anybody's having trouble, let me know. You should just refresh your browser or exit and re-enter the webinar if you are having trouble. Peggy G is pre-boomer. There you go. Well, welcome, Peggy. I'm glad that you're here. All right. We've got everybody in the room. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to run the video, and which is talking about the whole concept of side hustle. And then I'm so looking forward to the chat and hearing what you people have to say about your ideas around what you're doing as far as a side hustle, the questions and ideas you have. I just think that increasingly as our employment and as our world's just the job opportunities change in the world, that the concept of a side hustle is just that much more relevant. And it's not just relevant from a financial point of view. There's so many more important aspects to having a side hustle or a second income or a reinventing yourself. That whole concept is it's important to our mental and physical health as well, I believe, in a lot of cases, which I'll be sharing with you as we go through the video content today. So let's jump into the video.
Just a quick reminder that we have the questions tab here. So if you go in to put
they don't see it. It's only us. It's only us that sees it.
Oh, sorry.
We have to demark them as questions.
Sorry.
There's some new features coming into Demio as we go. All right, here we go. Let's head into the video. We will see you folks on the other side. Remember, April, we have to turn off our mic and our camera. I have lots of good reasons why this is one of my favorite topics. And I'll get into a lot of them as we go through today's webinar. What is a side hustle? Exactly what is this thing called a side hustle? I think it might be a generational thing, that why some of us know more about it than others, but here is essentially a definition, in my mind, of what a side hustle is. Well, are you going to make yourself comfortable for today's webinar, Farley? Yeah, go ahead, lay down. There you go. He's settling in for the long haul. A side hustle is a job, essentially a job that's in addition to your full-time employment. It can be freelance, it can be piecework. But here's the thing, when I think of side hustles, I think of them as really passion-based for the most part. There's something that you're interested in, something that you feel you bring a lot of value to. A side hustle, typically, I wouldn't look at as a part-time job. I wouldn't look at it really as a hobby. It's something which is you're serious about, and you are going to invest your time and energy in seriously for a variety of different outcomes. And those outcomes are different depending on who you are. But essentially, if we break it down into its big, broad strokes, side hustles can be gigs through the gig economy. There could be product sales, consulting, affiliate sales, digital products, all of those things, which I do many of as my main source of income, kind of all fall under the purview of what a side hustle is. But I want to begin today by really setting some context, because I think that the world has evolved. When I was growing up, my dad was a company man. My dad was an engineer, and he worked for one company. And I think that there in the 60s, when I was a kid, that my father considered that he would be with the same firm for his entire life. He was what they called back in the day a company man. He was loyal to his firm, and he thought his firm was going to be loyal to him for his entire life. Now, still, for me, a very profound moment in my development came when I was a teenager, and my dad was laid off at the age of, I don't know how old dad would have been, but he was in his early 50s. And he was laid off from his engineering firm. And it shook him to his core. And I will never forget his reaction to that, how much it affected my father's mental health. Now, when you're a teenager, you don't really think much about your parents' mental health. It's kind of in later years, in retrospect, that I look back and I have figured out a lot of the different aspects of what happened and how important a moment this was in our lives. But Dad being let off at that age because they could get a 40-year-old engineer for a lot less money that could do what he was doing, building pulp and paper mills, they could get somebody cheaper. And it shook his faith in the system that he believed in and he vested in. But it also had a profound impact on me because Dad didn't have something else to go to. And I believe that was the moment that I became an entrepreneur. I never wanted to let a company do to me what I saw happen to my father, who I saw through so many of life's travails. This was one of the things which absolutely shook his foundations. So for me, it was important that it was the seeds of me becoming an entrepreneur. But for many of my generation, I think that it was, our parents going through that indicated that we recognized that there was probably a good chance that we weren't going to be employed by the same company for our entire lives. That concept of being a company man is now gone. And side hustles are becoming increasingly the standard. Now, baby boomers, my generation, we didn't really invest in side hustles early on. I think different generations have invested in it in different ways because they have different needs. And if we look in the broadest strokes, millennials now look at side hustles because they frankly need the income. They're in the child rearing days, it's expensive, and they probably, in second incomes, third and fourth incomes, are useful options for them, as well as giving them possible kind of parachutes out of the jobs that they're in. For baby boomers and Gen Xers, for those of us who are older, side hustles are a far different thing. It's probably not about the money, although it might be. It is in some cases. But more often, I would say side hustles are about security and relevance. For us, they are our insurance policy against a cruel world where we give so much to the companies and the firms we look for. And when we are cast aside, like my father's cast aside, we have some place to pick up the pieces. We have the ability to reinvent ourselves and remain relevant, remain in the game, and sometimes continue having income. So side hustles might seem on the surface to be a little bit frivolous and a convenience or a dalliance, but in a lot of cases, I believe that they are essential. And for the older generations, we need to learn. We need to find leadership in it. The younger generations follow people like Gary Vaynerchuk, and they get side hustles down to the core. For us older folks, it's a little bit more work. So for me, this kind of a webinar is a little bit more profound because I believe that there's a real social side to the message that we're going to share today, not just a productivity side. Here's another salient fact. If you've watched my webinars, you know I've mentioned this before. Every day in North America alone, 1,200 baby boomers reach the age of retirement. That doesn't mean that they retire, but they reach the age that they can retire. And less than 30% are in a financial position to retire, and an even smaller percentage actually want to retire. So the whole concept of a side hustle becomes so much more important. But for those that are forced into retirement, that are forced into a reluctant retirement, there is a massive social cost, something that I am increasingly acutely aware of. Conversation I had just a few days ago with a buddy at the gym. He's an aeronautical engineer, and he was let go. And he's 54. And he's saying, Steve, I don't know if I'm ever going to find a job again. And this is sadly a conversation that I'm personally having on a weekly or monthly basis with different contacts and different people I talk to, that they're concerned about getting back in. And now there's a huge cost to that. Now, obviously, there's the solvency cost. There's the cost of, you don't have a job. The money is a big issue. But so often for all of us, what we do is intrinsically a big part of who we are and how we see ourselves and our value and our self-worth. So consequently, if you are driven out of an industry that you still feel you have value, especially one that you've given your heart and soul to, depression follows and all the cascading damage that depression does. Spousal abuse, alcohol and substance abuse, suicide, all cascade out of this loss of personal relevance. And if we can give people a reason or a reason to be relevant through a side hustle, I think we can mitigate a lot of these things. And I don't mean to make light of all of the issues, but I do believe that feeling like we have something to do, we have worth to give, we have something to daydream about, to imagine, to have some success in, is a huge part of our healthy journey. So, if you have one, what's your side hustle? If not, what do you think your side hustle should be? Let's spend a little bit of time and have fun and explore the ideas. And what I want to do today is spark your imagination, start conversation going, get some new ideas myself of things that you might be interested in as far as side hustles that I've not thought about, and just kind of spark this whole conversation along. When I break down side hustles, I kind of start with what I do, and which is, I guess it's not a side hustle, it's my main hustle, but content marketing. Now, all of these are very broad catchments, but content marketing is creating content that people consume of any sort. Podcasting, blogging, YouTube as we do, webinars as we do. And when you create content, you then can leverage into different revenue opportunities. Often with a side hustle, what you do as far as your community and kind of network building activity is only tangentially related to how you earn revenue. For example, if you're a content creator, you're going to earn revenue from advertising against your content or selling digital products that you create that are against your content, or perhaps affiliate marketing from your digital products or from the products that you recommend. Lots of different revenue mechanisms, but it's all based on you providing valuable content for a community, just like I am doing at this particular moment. This exact process that I am doing at this moment of sharing this webinar with you is content marketing. That's exactly what it is. And although I don't really have a revenue model attached to this webinar per se. There are tangential revenue opportunities where I can make money from this. So if you support us on Patreon, if you buy products that I recommend downstream, if you sign up for one of my courses, but all that based on the relationship that I'm building right now by sharing with you through content marketing. It's my favorite. It's my absolute favorite. And you have to recognize that regardless, side hustles are both art and science. You can't, and there's no defined, there's two people's side hustles are never identical. It's our own unique skill set with our own imagination, married to opportunity, married to the technology. We have to pull all of those different things together for side hustles. Another very popular one is gig work and part of the gig economy. Now, I'm very careful here because one of the things that people think about when they think of a side hustle, and it's my least favorite part of the conversation around the side hustle, is this idea of working the gig economy as an Uber driver or delivering, food, being a DoorDash delivery driver or being an Amazon driver. This sorts of gig economy things that people are doing, and there's an insidious nature to this. If we roll back what I was talking about just a few moments ago, where we were talking about people being laid off from their profession, a friend of mine from the aeronautical business, and people might be a little less sensitive to their situation and saying, well, okay, you lost your job there, building airplane ideas, but you can always drive for Uber. just a frickin' minute here. Going from something which you've poured your heart and soul and imagination into to becoming a part of the service industry, and I don't mean to belittle the calling of the Uber driver, but there's not an equivalency for the person who's lost their job. When I think of the gig economy and when I think of side hustles, I think of something that requires skill and imagination, not just competence, which is basically what you have to have in order to be a driver of some sort for some sort of delivery service. But instead, I'm thinking of the things that we value in ourselves, our imagination, our experience, etc. So the gig economy is kind of is sometimes thin ice. But in the gig economy, writing and editing, taking your skills and your understanding and your abilities, creating graphics and other production work. Now you can do this for yourself, promoting it for yourself, or on behalf of other services. And we'll be sharing with you a lot of links. Out of today's webinar, I'm going to be sending you out a list of a lot of different websites and opportunities that we've researched over the last little while in the entire world of the side hustle. And we've done several webinars on this topic where we've looked at and examined a lot of the different websites and offerings. So there's going to be a great follow-up email, which I encourage you all to open, which is going to have listings of the different gig opportunities. And for we'll have writers access there, which is I think the best place to go if you want to be a writer. And if you're gifted as a writer, for finding gig work as a writer that pays well and honors your ability. So we're going to have links to all of those sorts of services. So gig work on behalf of yourself or a service, big part of the side hustle opportunity. One of the biggest, I think maybe the next biggest next to content marketing, is coaching and consulting, which covers the gamut of mentoring and helping companies design strategies. You can hire yourself out on a contracting basis or as an individual mentor and coaching basis. Speaking opportunities to take your expertise and speak, often for money. Sometimes it's just to build your reputation and to create new opportunities. I think in the coaching and consulting area, if you decide to write a book, you're in that space because typically speaking, you're going to be teaching and sharing some knowledge you have. So you're teaching to a certain extent. And training opportunities. All of these come out of coaching and consulting. But remember how I said that it's kind of art and science? Coaching and consulting really mixes nicely with content marketing. If you write a blog in the area that you're an expert in, which creates the opportunity for you to generate the revenue from coaching and consulting. So you can see that you kind of pull the pieces that work for you to build your own side hustle that's going to resonate best for you. So that brings us to, I think, some kind of where the rubber meets the road, which is what are my top 5 side hustles? When I put this webinar together, we always like to have some sort of a listicle if we can. And so what are the top 5 things? Like if I sit down and just have a coffee with somebody and say, what are the best opportunities out there? I'm going to look forward to what you have to say. But for me, the best single opportunity is affiliate marketing of some sort, where you use content marketing, where you create a following with a podcast or videos or writing a blog, recommending ideas for other people to save them time to use your expertise to help them purchase. Any of these affiliate programs that we get involved in are a great opportunity for low-hanging fruit, quick revenue, and ability to establish yourself and build your side hustle. At the end of the day, 5 years, 10 years down the road, affiliate marketing might not be the biggest part of a side hustle that you embark on. Other revenue streams might be more consistent and more compelling, but they are a great place to start, probably the best place to start. The one that captures my imagination the most are fulfillment by Amazon, where you build a product. And this is especially wonderful for people who've been in industry that have contacts in that industry, but especially in the retail space, but the whole retail marketplace is changing for personalized delivery services. And when I say fulfillment by Amazon, selling Amazon products on Amazon, I'm saying Amazon like Kleenex. It's like Amazon. You can do this with Walmart. You can do your own Shopify store, but doing a fulfillment-based service where you source a product, create the branding and the marketing around that product, use social marketing to promote that product, and then sell that product and generate revenue. If you have experience in any aspect of retail or product design or distribution, this is a place that you have to learn and you have to look and you have to take a good, serious look at. I'm a huge fan of this opportunity because it's a place that you can also fly below the radar. Some people aren't comfortable with putting themselves out front and center, as is required for most content marketing, but this is just building a really good infrastructure and system. Great side hustle opportunity through any sort of fulfillment type situation. Of course, piecework. And piecework goes into what I was talking about as far as creating graphics or writing, creating any sort of piecework for individuals. Copywriting, looking for somebody that can do good copywriting. That is, again, one of the best opportunities. And there's lots of good sites where you can promote your expertise for piecework. It's a great way to instill yourself in the system, generate a little bit of revenue without a huge time commitment, and get comfortable with the entire concept of online revenue and in a side hustle. Becoming a content creator, of course, to me, near and dear to my heart, be it on YouTube, creating a podcast, publishing a blog, those are things that I find really exciting. And for people that are drawn into that space, it's one of the most fulfilling aspects because you get to have contact, just like I'm doing right now, with individuals, and you get to really see firsthand the difference you're making in people's lives. Being a content creator, and the time, it's not... A lot of people think that the ship has sailed. I don't want to start a YouTube channel now because that's, everybody's done it, or there's so many podcasts out there, there's so many... No. The nature of the internet, the nature of search, the nature of individuals is we are looking for voices that resonate with us. And if you've got a voice and you've got experience, you can find a community that you will resonate with. I am proof of that, and so many others are as well. The only time that's wrong to start is tomorrow. Today is always the right time to start all of these opportunities. And fitting in that is, of course, coaching and consulting, is just taking on contracts to coach or consult and reach out to companies and help guide them. And this is especially where more mature baby boomers, people that are in their 50s, 60s, who've been there, done that, know the pitfalls, know the challenges, have the contacts. They can grease the skids and put projects on track in the proper way. The biggest challenge is getting out of your own way to sell yourself, which is always, for many of us, a big hurdle, whereas in the past we've always been selling a product or selling something else, but actually saying, no, you want to hire me because I can make your life better for you. That's really the biggest challenge, is getting yourself into the mindset of charging a fair amount for your coaching and consulting, services. I have to think that the more you think about side hustles, you're going to go through a kind of a little bit of a journey. At the beginning, you're going to think, oh, there's nothing that I can do. There's absolutely nothing. And it just kind of seems like a big gray mass out there that that there's no color. You can't really pick out something that identifies with. I hope that makes sense. But the more you think about it and the more you have conversations with us here, with your friends, I think you'll start to find some opportunities that excite you. And when you start getting excited about a message you can deliver, that's the beginning of you discovering what your side hustle is going to look like. And don't worry that you have to understand the revenue opportunity right out of the gate as you start it. In many cases, you're going to start a side hustle just by involving yourself in a community, joining a Facebook group, answering some questions, joining a LinkedIn group, talking to others, offering some expertise from time to time, and starting to recognize where the value is that you can bring to a public community. And then you'll start to understand the mechanisms that you can do to start forming them into your own community, which of course then leads you to an opportunity for revenue. It's an exciting time. Rather than looking at it with trepidation, I think we should all look at it with a great deal of excitement because the opportunity is profound. So now I am looking forward to your Q&A as we further explore the side hustle. And there we go. That was that was an active chat going on there, April. Holy jumping. That was the feedback has been fantastic, folks. Thanks so much for all of that. I've enjoyed listening, and we've gotten inspired. A bunch of great ideas. And a lot of people that are just we're all at the kind of that same point, or so many of us are at that same point. And I don't think I think sometimes it's worthwhile doing an exercise like we just did to take a step back and have a look to see exactly, to kind of reevaluate and look at the whole idea with fresh eyes. There was a lot of people had comments around the fact that that maybe a passion project is not really the easiest way to go, but so many of you commented on thinking about things that were related to what you already do for a living, and areas that you're already in, but areas that you see opportunity, and where you bring your expertise there's just so much value. And I can't overemphasize how much I think that the mental health side and the spiritual side of being relevant is. I told the story of my dad. And in one of my keynotes, I do a keynote on the impact of technology on society. And one of the kind of more poignant stories that I tell in the keynote that I share is is one of the reasons that I stay so, at my age, have a passion for staying on top of what's happening with the world of technology. Because I think that if we don't stay engaged with technology, which is the main communication metaphor that the world uses, that we end up marginalizing ourselves because people think that we don't understand the world. That we don't understand, and this is a baby boomer, this is a challenge baby boomers have, is, we often hear ourselves saying things like, I don't understand Snapchat, I'm too old for it, it's too complicated for me, or Snapchat or some other technology. Now it would be, TikTok or something like that, right? And when we start to admit to ourselves or claim to ourselves, and it's almost a I'm not too sure if it's a cry for help or not, but when we start saying those things, words have a lot of power. And people hear you say that you're too old and too stupid to do something, and guess what? They start believing that you're too old and stupid, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And we're not too old and stupid for this stuff. We've made our way in the world perfectly well, and it's a challenge. It's hard work. It's change. Our parents didn't have to be lifelong learners. They didn't have to learn to the end of their life new stuff each and every day and have to wake up to a fresh new world every morning that they had to learn about. That's our lot in life, and it's every generation after us. We have to continue to learn. But as soon as we start to admit or start to claim that we're too stupid for it, we end up marginalizing ourselves. So we end up getting pushed to the fringes. And to pull that back to the kind of the personal story, I can still remember I'm telling you a lot of personal stories this week, but I was at a dinner with my father, and my family was there. It was a family dinner, and my brother and I were talking about a mortgage. He had signed up for a line of credit mortgage. It was a different financial mechanism. And I looked down at the end of the table, and you know how sometimes when you see a loved one, there's no words, but you just can intuit how they're feeling, and it's a feeling. It's not something that can be easily put to words. But I saw a lot of pain in my dad at that moment, and I recognized instantly what it was. He was always the patriarch of our family. He had his word in every single thing that happened in our family. He wanted to have his opinion known, and he made sure we knew it. he didn't have an opinion on this. He didn't have anything of value to add. And he felt irrelevant in the conversation. He felt like he wasn't a participant. And that caused him tremendous pain. And in fact, I think in a lot of ways, that was more painful to him than when when we were with the doctor, and the doctor was telling us it was my dad's last days because of an illness. And Dad was more afraid of being irrelevant than he was of dying. He wanted to be relevant to his last breath. And I recognize that in myself. And I think I recognize that in a lot of our community. We want to be a player. We want to be a contributor to our society, to our family, to our community. And we can only do that by being relevant, by being accepted as bringing value to the equation. And we do that by struggling and staying ahead of the technology. And a big part of that is what we do. And if we are marginalized by loss of income, loss of job, loss of place in society and position, well, that just exacerbates the problem. And I think it just causes a cascade. And I think that's the beginning of getting old. And maybe it happens really quickly as soon as that happens. And I don't want it to happen to me, and I certainly don't want it to happen to any of you. So that's why we do this. That's why we stay on top of technology. And that's why, regardless of what the marketplace says, we will find value and we will find a place to work. There, I've that's a pretty big soapbox I got on there. Sorry about that if I kind of got a little bit.
Oh, I thought it was great. It was great. It was great. Can you hear me?
I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, all right. I'm like, and I think everybody appreciate the story and that you're real. So those are big parts of my why. You know, you guys have in this webinar today, you've seen a lot of what makes me tick. And I don't think I'm different, though, than most baby boomers. I think most of us, we haven't, maybe I've spent more time thinking about it because of the public speaking and because of building the gray zone and the gray matters and that kind of stuff. But I think when we explore ourselves, that this is a common thread that ties us together. And we can support each other in it. So that's fantastic. So let me just get the business out of the way. Once again, I'm going to say a big thanks to all of our patrons at Patreon who make these webinars make it so that we can do them. And excuse me, if you drop by our Patreon page, we appreciate if you sign up to support us. And we will indeed be able to keep on delivering webinars just like this. Sorry, I'm going to mute my mic for just a sec. All right.
There we go. I'm still getting over a cold. Still have a little bit of a tickle in my throat. And while we're on the topic, next week's webinar, something completely different. We are going to jointly declare email bankruptcy. If you are overwhelmed in your inbox with email, next week's webinar Wednesday is for you, because I'm going to walk us all through the process of declaring email bankruptcy. So we're going to be able to start with a fresh inbox for February, which is, I think, a great way to start February, don't you?
I think I should be your case study.
I don't think so. I think you should do it, but I don't know if we want to overshare quite that much. I have an idea.
I need like an accountability coach for that.
Yes.
It's like a letting go. That's like, I am an email hoarder without a doubt.
Yes, indeed. Well, maybe we will. We'll talk about it over the week. We've got a lot. We've got a busy week. February is going to be. We're going to be really focusing on this entire idea of starting your own small business, starting a side hustle, the pieces that you need to put in place, and the tremendous opportunities that social selling, that this online world represents to us. So that's going to be a topic right through the month of February, and we're going to be focusing on it for a variety of reasons, not the least of which, at the end of February, Marie Forleo's B School launches, which we are going to be working with. We're going to be collaborating with that program this year, because I can't think of a better way to learn to start to build all of the pieces of an online business, all of the infrastructure. So we'll be sharing a lot with that. We're going to be starting a pop-up Facebook group, so there'll be a month of content in Facebook where you can learn and get ideas. And if you're just noodling around this idea of starting a side hustle, but you don't necessarily have an idea yet entrenched, that is a big challenge. Hopefully we'll be able to help you move in the right direction as far as that goes. If you have an idea, if you've already started, but now you need to start putting the pieces in place, February is going to be a great month for you, because we're going to be exploring that through the entire month of February here at Dottotech. So you'll be hearing lots more about that as we move along. So do we have any questions, April?
do, but you know what? Before we get to questions, there's an elephant in the room, and it's in the room on your social. Can you just tell people about the Gray Matters podcast?
Oh, the Gray Matters podcast was supposed to be back on already. I had actually scheduled a bunch of time to catch up and get ahead on all of the recording over the Christmas break. And I ended up so sick that I couldn't record a thing. I lost almost a month because my voice was so bad, and I was just flat on my back. So it will be back hopefully by the end of February, as we get into and get through this next cycle with all of this. The Gray Matters podcast is still, it's number one on my list, and it's been a I don't have you can tell I'm struggling. I feel guilty that I haven't had it back on, but I just haven't had the bandwidth to do it. And then when I did have it scheduled, life got in the way, and I got sick, and I just wasn't able to. You might have noticed there's no YouTube production. The only production that we've done in the last month has really been a couple of these webinars, because it's just I haven't been physically able to do it. And by the time I finish today's webinar, my voice will be shot, and it'll be like 6 hours before I can recover. So, and you can hear it. So we just have to wait till we get healthy, and that's one of the things. You need the pipes to do it. So, but I'm glad that you guys are interested in having it back. I am very, very committed to that project. Don't have no fear there. Okay.
All right. So our friend Sharon is saying, let's see. Oh, sorry, I'm starting at the beginning here. Our friend Michael. What is the name of the conference you're attending in Newcastle? I live in Kelowna. It might be time for a business trip. It may be.
It may be. You know, it's we're actually, I kind of jumped the gun, but I put a link in here to a live stream that's happening on Friday when I'm meeting with the guys where we're going to be talking about what we're going to be doing there. And the conference is called Atomicon. They haven't officially announced me on their website yet. We're actually doing that on Friday. So I put a link in there. So join us Friday, and you'll hear what I'm going to be talking about. And we're actually pretty excited because I'm going to be doing a really nice workshop the day before as well. Great side hustle workshop actually on how to make money on YouTube and how to build a business on YouTube. And part of that is going to be our publishing plan on how we publish our videos here at Autotech to help grow a YouTube channel. So it's going to be very focused on the YouTube space, but around business and around building a side hustle in that space. So it's on point with what we're talking about. But I'm looking forward to coming. We're coming a couple of days early. I'm going to be visiting Glasgow and Edinburgh on the trip and visiting with a lot of friends. It's going to be a great conference.
Liz, you get to meet Liz on the team.
Liz will be there. April might come.
I'm working on it. I might come.
She's trying to figure out the flights, but I'm very excited about it. I've never been to that area of the world, so looking forward to it.
All right. Veronica is saying, I'm sorry, Stephen. Wait a minute. Some of these are marked as questions.
Some of them marked as questions, but they were just really great statements that I wanted to share.
Okay. So. All right. So Darlene had posted something about a quiz, a bank code quiz that she's doing as her side hustle, and someone had asked how it was for list building. So Darlene, if you don't mind just putting the details in the chat for everybody, that would be great. Stephen was talking to Veronica. I have a small channel that continues to grow consistently. Like you, I'm also teaching technology, video production, content creation. Love Steve's note. If you have a voice, it's not too late. Just start.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the side hustle is if you're starting when you're doing something else, when it's off the side of your desk and you have the income, then you can grow it the right way. If you don't have the pressure of making money right away, but you can build the community and then let them lead you to money when the time is right, you're so much farther ahead. That's the way our channel started. Is our YouTube channel grew with me just providing content that I was listening to the audience, hearing what they wanted to learn more about. And it was the audience that led me to our Evernote course and to a lot of our most successful things, because when I post a video on the topic, they would engage, they would ask me more questions. And if you listen, especially if you're in content publishing, if you're listening to your audience, they'll lead you to what they're interested in.
True. Our friend Brad is asking, is there any earning potential in premium writing as in medium premium?
Now, as far as the opportunities on the site Medium itself, I understand that things are changing. They've pulled back. But if you're a good writer, the world is your oyster. There are so many places that you can apply that skill. And in the email that we'll send a link to a company called Writers Access. And there's a couple of premium copywriting services like Writers Access that have done a great job of becoming marriage brokers, finding the right writer to go with the right project. And that's the key. I mean, you recognize, having somebody that can write with your voice and can understand, you can take 10 great writers, but only one of them might be able to work for a certain brand or for a certain company because of the way that they craft their copy. And Writers Access, their MO, their secret sauce is a questionnaire that goes through that really positions writers and marries them to the proper clients. So I think that maybe it's because I'm a terrible copywriter, but I think copywriting is still the ability to write is still one of the valuable aspects.
If you can get some good writing work done and have referrals and references that you can then kind of solicit businesses, you will do very well. There's such a need. All right, our friend Woody. They call my husband that. Steve, I'm in a unique position. I finished my first career and retired. Congratulations. But prior to retiring in 1998, I got involved in a church mission and started a nonprofit organization devoted to the mission in Congo.
Yep.
That organization has been functioning since 2004. I leaped into retirement in 2007. Over the past 4 years, I've been trying to increase our online giving to complement our face-to-face generated giving. However, I see a side hustle opportunity.
Yeah, I follow Woody all the time on Facebook because he's always going out and doing incredible work in the world with an incredible smile on his face. Oh, he's always going out there and helping somebody, and it's uplifting to follow him on Facebook. And I think that as far as he's a powerful messenger, and if he decides to share more on social, I think he's going to have a profound impact.
Very nice. Our friend Sharon here. I have an online business coaching others with their side hustle. We are all very happy. Some people do need help, though, and my experience can be an important form of early help and support. I grew my side hustle well before retirement. Retirement was forced upon me, and I was ready. Woohoo!
Yeah.
The side hustle I absolutely love and have never been happier. That's awesome.
The people that have a little bit of forethought, anybody that plans for anything is so much farther ahead than most of us. I mean, most of us react as opposed to plan, but it's just affirmation. And I saw a lot of people comment on the fact that it's not too late. It's not too late on any aspect of any of these.
Not at all.
That you just start and it takes time. The biggest asset that any of us can have in the entire space is the ability to remain consistently publish, to consistently do the work, whatever it is that your side hustle requires. But being there it's like parenting. Being there is 80%, right? If you're there, then you have a chance to make a difference.
So a few years ago, I was teaching at the University of Hartford. They have an entrepreneurial center, and I would do social media classes. And my oldest student that came in was 95 years old to learn Facebook. And he was an artist, and he would sell his art at local craft fairs, but he wanted to know how to use Facebook. So you are never too old to have a side hustle.
Yes, absolutely. Good point.
Just about to start a networking business side hustle using webinars, working name Webnet. Oh, I think the name of the webinar is Webinet. The idea is to generate leads from my day job as a website designer.
Good.
Not really a question, but that's awesome.
Veronica, Giselle's asked for to share Woody's link to his Facebook page. If Woody feels comfortable sharing his profile, I'll get him to do that. I'm not going to do that on his behalf in that particular case. So Woody, if you want to share your Facebook profile, please go ahead.
All right. Stephanie mentions she's a VA for her main income. VA equals virtual assistant. Love the flexibility, but also adding another side hustle with e-com sales for another income stream. Diversity is the key. Nico's asking, did you read the book by Chris
Gillibro?
Yep.
Gillibro, yeah.
On side hustle or his podcast.
Yeah, he's one of the people that really knows his stuff. He's younger. He's a millennial. But he is definitely younger. He's a kid, but he knows the side hustle. There's a couple of real kind of leaders that have led the millennial community. Gillibro's one, certainly Gary Vaynerchuk's another. That age demographic, and I'm sure any millennials that are on with us now, they readily accept this so much more. And I think one of the reasons is there's a bit of a hoisting on our own petard happening to baby boomers right now. Is that when the millennials came into the workforce, every previous generation before, when we came into the workforce, the next generation moved out. They moved out at 55 and 60 and 65. But baby boomers didn't move out of the workplace at 55, 60, and 65. We decided to stay on for a variety of reasons. One of them is our health. We're healthier longer. We have longer lives, and also economically. But there's a variety of different reasons. And baby boomers and the millennials are, as we know, are fairly salty about the fact that we weren't moving out of the jobs and we didn't create a good employment environment for them when they came in. And so they became conscripted to become entrepreneurs, to become entrepreneurial, because they had no choice, because the jobs weren't there for them. So they were forced into entrepreneurship. Well, now they have moved into the mainstream. They have moved into the jobs. And in a lot of cases, they're the ones that are hiring, and baby boomers who are being forced out of their jobs are applying back with that generation. Now, I'm not going to say that there's a little bit of revenge out there, but there's definitely a generational distance between millennials and baby boomers. And I do think we see a certain amount of ageism as a result of that. But now, because of that, we are being forced to become entrepreneurial, which is what a side hustle is. It's entrepreneurial. So now our generation is now being kind of forced into the same space as we forced them into 20 years ago, 25 years ago. So I think that there's a little bit of history repeating itself in that.
Okay. Hold on. I went back to the chat. Steve, what are your thoughts on building a membership community with subscription business model? That's from our friend Terry.
Such a well-proven model. And there's lots of good podcasts and lots of good videos on the best ways to build a membership community. I don't think you can just build it straight at the beginning. You have to prove value. I think it takes maybe a year of on-ramp or maybe even longer to establish your bona fides as you build and you establish your credibility. But if you do have a marketplace where change is constant and training is constantly having to be implemented, it is tremendous. One thing you have to consider with every membership opportunity is what is the life cycle of the knowledge. April and I were having this conversation today. We were talking about our Evernote course, and April said, I think there's an opportunity for an Evernote community if you wanted it. And I was thinking, yeah, but Evernote is a fairly closed cycle. So I'm not too excited about creating a community which would have a finite amount of knowledge that we could teach, which would typically be like as it is now. We teach it in 10 days with our course, but there's a small amount and Evernote is not going to evolve rapidly. So what can we teach that community 6 months down the line that's going to keep them engaged in the community? So that's a challenge as far as creating an online community. Whereas our good friend Sue Zimmerman, she has a community where she teaches Instagram. Well, they're constantly changing the rules and the opportunities and the algorithm and the way that a social network like Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, the way that they work. So people who teach those skills, they have a community because their community needs to constantly upgrade their skills to understand. I can't think of a better community than Facebook ads, which are changing their rules practically every hour. So the people who understand what's happening and how those rules are reflected and represented downstream and can teach you and can save you time, tremendous value in those ever-shifting sand type worlds. But where there's a concrete finite thing to learn and then it's not going to change much, that's where you have a challenge with the community.
All right. Let's see. What's the name of the person again that you mentioned for the side hustle?
Chris Gillibro.
Book. Chris Gilmore.
Gillibro.
Okay. Let's see. So it's interesting. When it turns back to chat, it's slow. So like I'm out of the question.
Yeah.
Like the new feature. Yeah, it's like giving me a hard time.
I like
today.
this. Lawrence has said. Lawrence, who's contributed so many good thoughts today, says, I welcome failure and success often. That's one of the things that I'm intrigued by a lot of our community, that their goal this year is to fail at least 15 times. That failure, it just means you're trying. There's a lot of the world that's turning the word failure on its ear and making it not a negative but a positive, like it's as an attempt. like a good try. And I love that concept of where you go and you try things and you fail and you learn. My old business partner used to say our first mistake was our cheapest, and if we learn from it, then we are in great shape. Holy cow, we're having issues. Go ahead.
Stephanie's asking, what are your thoughts on wish lists for a membership?
I'll let April kind of handle that one. I don't love any of the WordPress based membership sites. I find them difficult to use. I prefer some of the online services. We use Thinkific very much like you would use a membership site. So in some cases, that might be a better option.
I think from a cost-effective perspective, Stephanie, Wishlist is not as, like, there's some WordPress membership plugins that are a lot cheaper. And if you're going to consider the WordPress plugin, you should definitely look at some of the standalone services, because the other thing too is storage. Because when the membership isn't hosting the storage, sometimes they store it on your site, which boggles down your site. So you just have to be mindful of that. And then if you're going to use a email provider, make sure that it integrates. Wishlist isn't a bad one. It's not that WISP that we used to use.
Yeah. And there was a question here about Kajabi versus ClickFunnels. If I was building a membership site, I would certainly look at a Kajabi before I looked at ClickFunnels. Kajabi is a good choice. And as I say, we'd be remiss if we didn't say Thinkific. They're a good partner of ours. As a matter of fact, I've got my YouTube meetup tonight, and they're hosting it for me. So our friends at Thinkific, thank you.
Yes. And so just the difference between Kajabi and Thinkific, Kajabi has marketing automation now. So it has a little bit, it's kind of trying to do an all-in-one platform.
He's asking about the links. All of the links to that I talk about that are going to be the ideas and some of the different places that I refer to, that'll be in the follow-up email that you'll get tomorrow morning.
All right.
This needs at least a 2-hour webcast. It does, Lawrence, but we're not going to do it.
So Brenda's saying, so are you saying that short life products are better than long-lasting content? Please.
For short life products, online courses are a better solution. For something that's really finite. For open-ended issues, open-ended trainings like learning how to publish on YouTube or Instagram or how to run Facebook ads, for them, membership sites are awesome. Ongoing skills development, membership sites, teaching you to do something, online courses.
All right, Deborah is validating Thinkific.
Yeah.
She used Wishlist before. Our friend Michael's asking about where to build a website and kind of get started learning about other websites, which I think that's a pretty big question because it depends what type of website you want. If you want a monthly service, WordPress I feel like is always a good option, and a lot of hosting companies have WordPress templates for you to start with, like GoDaddy is one that does the template. You can fill it in. Let's see. Dave and Loria, LSP, are moving their stuff from Kajabi to Thinkific. It does more of what they need.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, and these are all good services. Kajabi, Thinkific, Teachable, they're all good. They all do a good job, and people build their business on them. We partner with Thinkific for a variety of reasons. It's a great product, but also they're based here in Vancouver, where I live, and I've got to know their team very well. But whichever one you decide on, you invest in them. You get to know the people, you get to know the product, and you will succeed. It's the bottom line is they all work very, very well.
Carmen's asking if you do one-on-one consultations.
Could be. We actually, if you're interested in getting and learning more about this, then I think February is going to be a really interesting month for you. As we start to promote and talk about B School, there'll be opportunities to jump on live streams that we're going to be doing, daily live streams on Facebook, answering questions, and there will be some one-on-one consultation opportunities coming down the pipe from that. It's not something I typically charge for, but in conjunction with some of our other offers, there's an opportunity. So there will be in February. I'll be doing quite a few one-on-one consultations. It's working good.
Veronica is asking, can you use a Google site created from a private Google account like @gmail.com for business purposes? I don't think so, but I can't find any resources on how to transition a personal account to a business account.
I'm not too sure. I think if you just upgrade, it converts.
Your email address
Yeah, I think
converts.
if you go to the paid version, it'll convert it.
Yeah.
I think you're
I think
right.
it's a fairly automated process.
Michael, I get overwhelmed.
Starting to be school. So am I. It's good.
All right, and we are at the top of the hour.
I think we can wrap things up. This has been great, and this is not going to be the only visit to this topic, as you can tell. That we'll be carrying on with this. But next week we're not going to be talking about this. No. Next week we're going to be talking about blowing away that terrible email inbox and getting a fresh start. And we all struggle with losing weight. Nothing will make you feel lighter than the day after you declare email bankruptcy, when you open your email and you have white space at the bottom of your email. That is a liberating moment. But it only lasts if you develop some good habits so that you don't get overwhelmed again. We're going to be dealing with those topics next week on Webinar Wednesday. So keep your eyes open and register for that. And I'm going to encourage, I don't often proselytize and ask you to get your friends to sign up, but you all have friends and family members who are in terrible shape with their email. We all do. Share next week's webinar with them. A lot of good can come from getting control of your email. So when I send out the invite your friends next week. Do me a favor for that. I would appreciate that, you guys going out and becoming part of the solution as far as helping people overcome email overload. April, thank you.
Thank you.
We did have some technical. My feed here has been off and on through the whole thing, so the replay is going to be interesting. But I should be able to cobble together a decent enough replay. So here's what's going to happen: is all of my links will come in the email tomorrow, which will be a big list of the different ideas around side hustles and the resources that I look for. You'll be getting a replay as well and registration for next week's webinar. And that's it. I think we'll call it a wrap. To all of our patrons, thank you. For any of you, we have some new patrons actually signed up just now. As a matter of fact, I want to say Michael Masalio, thank you so much. Welcome aboard. And Bob Poole, also welcome aboard. We appreciate you guys joining us. And that's it. We're going to wrap things up.
Thanks, Jessica.
It's been an awesome.
Oh, and you have a few friends that'll see you at the meetup tonight.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Yes, that's next. Farley goes for grooming. See how shaggy he looks. Farley, you going to go to the groomer in a minute?
Oh, you know what? You can't even tell my shirt. I have my Gray Matter shirt.
Yeah, I have my experiences. Something Google shirt. Before we go, drop the link to the Teespring store. Do you have it?
Oh, I don't.
I'll include it in the email. So you can get your own.
Sorry, I'm not very organized.
The Dottotech brand. Good stuff, folks. Thanks everybody so much. Thank you, guys. April. Till next time.
You
have fun storming the castle.
Bye, guys.